I'm not saying I don't have faith in men when it comes to romance books, but I'm not, I haven't read any. Hey kings and queens and royal beings, my name is Jessica. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. So, as you can clearly tell, this is not your typical intro video. Please don't mind my hair and my lack of makeup. I just woke up from a nap. Is it almost 8:30 p.m.? Yes. Did I fuck up my sleep schedule? Yes. I've been seeing so much talk on, like, in Bookstagram, book Twitter, seeing a lot of booktube videos with hauls for like old historical romance covers, and it got me thinking. My mom is a huge romance reader as well, pretty much where I got my start, because I would literally sneak her books when I was like 14. So she has a bunch of books, and a lot of them are packed in our basement, but I decided I'm gonna go look for some of her books and kind of do like my mom's book collection slash, you know what, I'm probably gonna steal some of them too, because she has a lot of like super old ones like Joanna Lindsay. I can't think of a lot of ones, but the ones with like the embarrassing covers, which, you know what, I ain't gonna lie, I was a little embarrassed just because there was such like the bad stigma around them, like, oh, you read those kind of books, blah blah, you're not actually reading. I'm gonna go through my books I'm gonna go look at my mom's boxes of books right now. She used to have way, like, so much more, but we've moved so many times. He's kind of lost track of a lot of the books. If I can, I will try to like show you guys looking for the book boxes and stuff like that, but it's our basement is our storage unit, so I don't think that's gonna be a very big possibility because the lighting's gonna be terrible and I won't know where to put my tripod. So but I'm taking my phone anyway, just in case. So if I don't have any footage, I'll try to get some. But next clip is either going to be me getting some footage or me showing you my mom's book collection. So I'll be back in a little bit. Well, I tried filming the book haul, I guess, Sunday after I found out all the books, but it got really late and I started scrolling on my phone, being on Twitter, so it's now Wednesday. Anyway, let's get started because it's gonna be a long one. I already went through the basket and grabbed the books that have that old romance vibe cover that I'm looking for. There's 26, 25, 26, it's in their 20s, so I'm going to show you all the covers, but I'm not going to tell you the synopsis of all of them because it'll be a long video. We're going to start with Colorado Captive by Charlotte Hubbard, and this is very clearly like the typical romance, historical romance vibe that we're like going for. Okay, so next we have Come Love a Stranger by Kathleen E. Woodwist. At Woodywist, there's like an I between the D and the W. In the commanding desire of Ashton's embrace, she was Lyran, the enchanting bride he had carried home to his family's plantation. Ooh. But to another man she was Lenore, the bride he dragged through a nightmare of dark passions and murder. Confused and afraid, her memories of young happiness destroyed by tragedy and violence, she now remembered nothing. Not who she was, not the horrors she had suffered, or the two men who now fought to claim her. But her heart had not forgotten. She knew she belonged to one man, to the stranger who adored her, and who made her remember what her love could never forget. Yeah, some of these books have very interesting settings. So next is an author that kind of really she really sparked people wanting the covers of like old historical romance. I know my mom has more than one, but in this I only found two, so I'm probably gonna look through more of her books and continue like looking for them. Johanna Lindsay, and this is Heart of Warrior, and this, while typically you wouldn't you know, you see it and it doesn't look like the covers we're looking for. However, this is a step back. As you can see, this is a very stereotypical like historical romance cover. However, I read the back and this is actually not a historical romance. It seems like there's possibly time travel. Like I said, that's not a historical romance, but it's got like the famous cover. Okay, so we also have another Joanna Lindsey book, and that is Fires of Winter by Joanna Lindsey. This, honestly, yeah, this really looks like the kind of cover that everybody's been looking for. Spirited across an icy sea, lovely and dauntless Lady Brenna vowed vengeance on her Viking abductors. Slavery was the fate of women captured on raids, but when she faced the man who was now her master, she swore she would never be owned. Yet Garrick claimed her with a primitive abandon that left her breathless, and between them built a passion that ignited the long cold nights until a rival Norseman challenged the bond destiny had forged, and only love could bind forever. So is that Vikings? Vikings. Which I don't really read a lot of books with Vikings anyway, so I'm very interested in reading that one. We have two books that are in the same series, and they're not like the first, the second, I think it's like the second and the third one. Again, they're very like pretty typical books that I would like, pretty typical covers that I would associate with the historical romance. Is Fern and Laurel, both by Lee Greenwood, and I guess it is part of the Seven Brides series. These seem like they're like the Western historical romance kind. You'll see in the back, 'tis a man who wrote this series, which I know men can write romance. However, that's not something that I typically see when it's like historical romance, so that makes me even more intrigued to like read these, because I'm not saying I don't have faith in men when it comes to romance books, but I haven't read any, actually, let's just say. So both of these were written, most of these I think were written in like the 90s. Let's actually see when this is Laurel. When Laurel was written. Laurel was written 1995. Fern was written 1994. So next up is a cover that I genuinely like. The color scheme, the covers I think of when I think of like old historical romance covers. Just, it screams old historical romance, and that is Crystal Paradise by Joanna Haley, and this one was published 1986. Again, makes sense. This is like, I associate this with like 80s and 90s, sometimes 70s covers, but like this is the type of cover that I associate with historical romance. Next is one that is incredibly similar cover wise, is Wild Wyoming Heart by Sylvie E. Summerfield. When was this published? Probably 1980s. 1988. Yes, I was correct. Yeah, I feel like the 80s was like this kind of color scheme. I don't know if I'm correct because I haven't really seen a lot, but like this is the kind of covers that I associate with like historical romance in the 80s. So this one's about a woman named Kyrie Kennedy, and she and her father moved there for like a new beginning. But when she and her father moved there, like they end up getting into like a bunch of disputes, I guess, with their neighbor, and like the worst of all is Damien Saber. He like threatens them, is like antagonizes them, and it says that when that didn't work, he attacked her defenses through her woman's vulnerability. But before she could shoot him off her property, the ruthless rancher was staking a claim to her body. So that sounds a little not good. That's one reason why I would really want to like read these kind of books, because I want to see how they held up through the years, because this sounds a little okay. So next we have Liar's Promise by Dana Ransom. This was published 1990. So yeah, this one is a bit more like not super modern. Golden-haired Catherine Mallory sure wasn't the type to seek out the likes of disreputable Captain Brady Rogan, but the worried beauty had to know the fate of the ship carrying her father. When Catherine's sincere questions were met with the mocking
indifference of the gambling, womanizing captain, because of course he has to be womanizing. The enraged blonde swore she'd make him notice her. Her emerald eyes sparkled with unleashed fury, her lovely breasts heaved with indignation, and Catherine won the wrong kind of attention. Now the hot-blooded brigand was so interested in her he was making her quake with his insolent gaze and his bold, strong touch. Playing a good hand of cards was all that was on Brady Rogan's mind after an exhausting journey, not the complaints of a mewling wench. Then the lusty, rugged captain examined the chit's rounded curves, her trim waist, and her angelic face, and all he could think of now was the game of love. He sensed Catherine was a prim, untried innocent. Still, he resolved he'd have her in his bed by nightfall, winning her with his heart-stopping smile, his softly whispered compliments, and his beguiling liar's promise. Hence the name. Next up, we have Tapestry of Fate by Nina Beaumont, and this one was published in 1994. Oh, that's me. This book is my age. 25, gonna be 26. I don't know when it was published, but 26. While mournful songs of star-crossed love and depthless passion filled the tavern air, Alexei Muromsky gazed into a pair of emerald eyes and lost his soul. For in Irene Golovin he discovered his past, his future, his everything. One touch, one kiss, one night of the brightest passion was all it took to forever enshrine Prince Alexei Muromsky in Irina's young heart. But she was a woman now, living in dangerous times, and loving a dangerous man, who drew her into his intrigue with an embrace that the fates themselves decreed. We have a holiday Regency romance, which y'all know I love holiday romance, like holiday historical romance. It's August, so holidays are coming up very soon, so who knows, I might save that one for the holidays. But this is an Easter. Okay, never mind, it's Easter. Duh, there's no snow. Well, I guess I could read this now then. Yeah, this is like another typical kind of romance, but one that I have mixed feelings about. Okay, so next we have Sweet Savage Love, and this is by Rosemary Rogers. And she's kind of big. Yes, it's red. She's pretty old. Let's see how old. 1974. Yeah, this is the cover that I associate with the 70s. The Wild Wyoming Heart, yeah, this is what I associate with the 80s. This is definitely what I associate with the 70s. It's a little more like low-key, but it's still like, you can tell this is a romance book. A tale of human emotion that lays bare the heights and depths of love, passion, and desire in old and new worlds. As we follow Virginia Brandon, beautiful, impudent, and innocent, from the glittering ballrooms of Paris to the sensuality of life in New Orleans to the splendor of intrigue-filled Mexico. A tale of unending passion, never to be forgotten. The story of Virginia's love for Stephen Morgan, a love so powerful that she will risk anything for him, even her life. Why are you in danger, bro? I want to know. Next up is another, let's see, I think this was published in the 80s, but we'll see. But it's A Rose in Winter by Kathleen E. Woodowitz. Oh, another one. What do you think? Do you think they're similar font-wise? Yeah, but this could also be like a font that's very popular. Kind of. 1982, this is published. Erin's father had given her hand to the richest suitor. She was now Lady Saxton, mistress of a great manor all but ruined by fire, wife to a man whose mysteriously shrouded form aroused fear and pity. Yet even as she fell in love with her adoring husband, Erin despaired of freeing her heart from the dashingly handsome Yankee who couldn't forget her. The beautiful Erin, once filled with young dreams of romance, was now a wife and woman, torn between the two men she loved. Oh. It's a love triangle. Okay, so if you'll have noticed, all of these books are pretty much paperbacks currently. However, this next one is actually a hardcover. This, I feel like you never really see, like, first of all, historical romances, majority of the time, are not hardcovers. Most of the time, they are in fact paperbacks, specifically mass market paperbacks. But we have For Love's Sake Only by Laura Parker. This is what it looks like naked, kind of average romance book. And this was published 1991. Still very similar to like the other books that you see, but I thought this was cool because it's a hardback. Next up, we have The Shielded Heart by Sharon Schultz. What do you think? I think 80s or 90s. 1998, so almost 2000. I think so. Medieval time period. Let's read what it's about. Swen Sigurdsson had vowed to keep Anna safe, yet the church's decree that she remain innocent seemed to sin against nature. Okay, for the beauticious artisan was a woman made for loving, particularly by him. Okay. Anna Mojus had never seen the likes of Swen Sigurdsson. A warrior tall and true, here was a man of passion and secrets who asked only to be her friend. But didn't he realize that Anna would pay any price to become more than a friend to the Honorable Swen? I think it is Sven. Sven makes more sense. So, yeah, that's a plot. Don't judge me because the cover's not all there. Again, remember that I think I said in the beginning of the video, a lot of these books my mom has had for a very long time. So, and we moved quite a bit. So some of these books I have been through a lot. So this cover is not completely there. Is that a tragedy? Honestly, yeah. I'm gonna put it up, and I think this is actually in a garage sale because there's a 25-cent sticker. It's not even like a sticker, it's like tape that you put on there. But I'm gonna try to find the actual cover as well. This is called Love Song, and this is by Valerie Sherwood. As you can tell, the cover's not all there. So here's gonna be a picture. When this was written, I'm gonna guess in the 70s. This one honestly does seem like a 70s cover. I was wrong. 1985. So some of these books like are fucking huge. Like, how many pages is this? 526. A sweet wild madness swept over Carolina Lightfoot at the sight of elegant Lord Thomas Angevine, reputed to be the most notorious rake in London. The proud colonial beauty, graced with silver gold hair and flashing eyes, hoped to be his bride. Then, swept into a growing storm of scandal, she was banished to Virginia. Captured by buccaneers on the high seas, Carolina became the silver wench of the Caribbean and the defiant prisoner of the infamous Kells, a brooding man with insolent charm and a mysterious past. On the island of Tortuga, where gentle winds caressed the perfumed nights and a lustrous moon whispered love's allure, Carolina must escape to find Thomas again, Kel's passionate embrace, the rapturous temptation of his love song. I forgot that that's a thing some romances do. They do like the end, as evidenced by Liar's Promise. I think that was the one where they do the whole synopsis in the back and then it's like title of the book. So have you noticed that like a lot of like books like that has to do with like Caribbean, like southern, like New Orleans, where it's like a bit more like that kind of temperature, you know what I mean? It's like perfumed night, sensuous moon, some shit like that, and I'd be eating that shit up, so I can't really complain. Next one, I don't know if it's like when it was published. Like the cover kind of seems a bit more modern still. Not as modern as what happens like now, like that we would see in a Tessa Dare or anything like that, but it's a bit more modern than like some of the ones that we've been seeing. The Heather and the Thistle by Kathleen Morgan, and this one 1998, so yeah, not as old. Next up is, it's a bit more like the Sweet Savage Love one, Ondine. This is written by Shannon Drake. Let's see when this was published. 1997. Not so old then. Once she'd been a pampered lady, then she became an innocent pawn in a terrible game of power and influence. Now, with the noose around her neck, was to hang before she had the chance to find the traitor who had been her noble father's killer, before she had a chance to live. Lord Chatham had been called a beast, his eyes hard as silver, his will as strong as steel. He had all the mistresses a man could want, but for his own secret purpose of revenge, he needed a wife. A quirk of fate brought him to the gallows, a flash of destiny made him claim the condemned Ondine. Swept up in the intrigues of Charles II's opulent court, surrounded by enemies, neither Ondine nor Chatham expected to find a passion to quell a man's furies, fulfill a woman's deepest desires, and unite them, body, heart, and soul. So most of these authors I've actually never heard of, with the exception of Joanna Lindsay. I've seen these books because I knew they were there, but I've never read anything by actually all these authors. Not even maybe Joanna Lindsay. I don't remember. I used to read a lot of my mom's historical romance books when I was like 13, 14. So, and that was before I got a Goodreads. Before I used my Goodreads, I should say. I've had my Goodreads for a while. I don't know how to feel about this one based off of the cover, but this one's called Look Away, Bewley Land, and this is by Lonnie Coleman. Is this, yep, this is set during the Civil War. This was written 1977. Again, yeah, you can, it might just be, but I can kind of tell that this was like more of an older. I don't know about this one, folks. I got feelings about this book. I don't know about this one. Oh, this is the sequel. So obviously I won't be reading this one. So next is Wild Roses, and this is by Julia Griss. This one, if it's not written in the 70s, if it wasn't published in the 70s, I'm gonna be very, very surprised. And if this wasn't written in the 70s, I'm gonna be surprised. You know what? It probably was, because that just proves that it's like an older book. Also, holy shit, how much was this book? Because I just looked, and other books written by Julia Griss, $2.25. And granted, this is a mass market paperback, but that's really cheap. January 1980. So I was close. January 1980. That means the cover and all that stuff was figured out in the 70s. So yes, I was correct. Next we have The King's Brat by Constance Gluyas. Here's the cover. Based off this, 70s. Copyright 1972. I was correct. Where's the price? Where's the scan thing? How did you know the price of these books? Was it a sticker? Oh. It's like on the spine. It says $2.50. What the fuck? I mean, mass market paperbacks are like less than $10, but like $2.50? Angel, dressed in a cast-off gown, her copper curls glistening in the sun, presented herself at the kitchen door. She had a message to deliver to the Earl of Benbrook from his sister, who had been beaten to death in Newgate Prison. The Earl of Benbrook gazed at the waif who had been kind to his dying sister. With a mixture of guilt and gratitude, he vowed to turn the street wench into a lady. It was a task that would involve him with Angel far more deeply than he guessed, and would change her far more than she dreamed. A little dark. I feel like some of these books are like have a bit of a darker premise than what we're used to right now. I mean, a lot of like current historical romance are very like dark, but this one seems, ooh, I wonder how graphic it goes. Last up, have Surrender in Moonlight by Jennifer Blake, and this is published in 1984. You know what I noticed also about like the old ones is that, like, here's a synopsis, which if you can see at the bottom, it says continue on the back flap, which means that I'm not going to be reading out what this book is about because it's long. So it seems like it's a book based off of the South, like during Confederate Civil War times. So this woman named Lorna, she makes love with Ramon Casney. She doesn't even know him when this happens. So she's like a Southern socialite woman, it seems like, and she's actually set to marry this this other man named Franklin Bacon. I guess when she meets Ramon, she like has these like feelings with him that she wants to like forget everything. Franklin's father ends up discovering her with Ramon, and he goes to jail, and Lorna is forced to marry Franklin. So on the night of their wedding, he attacks her, and she ends up freeing Ramon from prison and escapes with him to New Orleans. Now, Ramon is a blockade runner for the stricken Confederacy, and he has a ship waiting for them in New Orleans. When they get there, they sail to Nassau. This just follows them as they sail, and like Lorna ends up presenting him because she feels like she's a prisoner, but also she, like, you know, sparks fly and all that stuff. So yeah. Last we have Ribbon in the Sky by Dorothy Garlick. This one is like a cover that again, a bit more modern, but not completely modernized. Let's see when this one was published. This was published in 1991. I couldn't really tell, for me personally, when like a book was published, like romantic wise, based off of the covers. Right now, one of the really big things in like just regular romance is like illustrated like this, like these two back here. One that was published like historical romance wise is something like this. Pleasures of a Notorious Gentleman by Lorraine Heath, which Lorraine Heath is an author that I'm very familiar with. She's a bit of a newer author. I want to say my favorite covers, I would have to say, are Crystal Paradise and Wild Wyoming Heart, because I really like these colors. That's it for today's video. Like I said in the beginning, Mom has like a bunch of romance books, so who knows, I might do a part 2 if I can find them. If not, I might just do, I think I'll do a vlog and go to like my Second and Charles or Half Price Books, and we'll look at old romance books together and see which ones I'm interested in buying based off of the cover and all that stuff. Who knows, something like that. I don't know if I mentioned this in the beginning of the video, but a quick disclaimer, I know this is not completely new. There's a lot of historical romance like videos like this going around, so I did not make this video up. I got a lot of ideas from the booktube community. Well, again, that's it for today's video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you want to. Actually, I want to know, which one was your guys' favorite cover, and which decade do you think you prefer romance covers wise? The 70s, 80s, 90s, or now? Or 2000s, I guess, and then 2010s. Now soon to be 2020s. Yeah, that's it for today's video. I already said that earlier, but whatever. I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.